What's up everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today is my wrap up for December, so let's go ahead and get into it. So I actually did read a decent amount of books in December. I think I ended up reading 9 total books. I really want to get better with giving you guys the monthly stats, which I honestly don't have because this is, you know, before I was fixing my life back in 2021. But for the future in my wrap-ups, I want to be able to give you like the amount of pages that I've been reading and just some of the like smaller various stats, but also possibly me sharing my story graph stats, because over on the story graph, it's like an alternative to Goodreads, and you can follow me on both Goodreads and Storygraph. I'll put links down below for you, but Storygraph actually gives you like some really great stats every month, so I want to try and be able to share those with you, starting with my January wrap-up. When I'm doing my Reading to Zero challenge, I like giving you all my stats of, you know, how many books I started out with, how many I hauled that month, how many I unhauled that month. I also feel like I should specifically tell you which books I didn't get to do for which prompts, because I know that some of you, put the YouTube prompts in the comments and then I pick them, and then sometimes I just don't get around to that book. So I'm gonna try and do better. Okay, so like I said, I read 9 books. I don't know any other stats because I was lazy. Moving on from that, I actually did haul 5 books in December. So these actually were all gifted to me except for one. I did buy one because it was part of a like subscription box over at Hello Lovely. So the one that I bought was Cherry Bomb. This is actually like a forbidden romance. This is about a relationship with someone's best friend's dad, I guess. So it's actually a pretty small book, but it sounded very intriguing. So I am going to try and read this year, even though I've been kind of getting away from romances. Okay, the next 4 books were gifted to me. I'm gonna start out with Cultish. This is a book that was gifted to me by Gwen, and I am so excited to read this. This is a whole book about cults and why people join cults and everything about cults, and I've heard people say that this is amazing, so I'm hoping to get to this soon because you all know I love me some cults. Next up, my friend Danielle gifted me The Less People Know About Us. This is a nonfiction memoir about someone's family who dealt with identity theft and how that impacted their lives. So that's gonna be very interesting. And my friend Amanda gifted me with Troublemaker. This is also a cult book. This is about someone surviving the Scientology cult, I believe. So that's gonna be really exciting to read. And then my friend Teresa gifted me with For Your Own Good by Samantha Downing, which I am super excited about because I've heard that this book is better than the one that I read this month, which I'll tell you about that in a bit. Oh, let me catch my breath. Okay, so next up, I'm gonna show you the stack of books that I decided to unhaul in order to get ready for the new year. Let me catch up. Okay, so I wanted to do one last big unhaul before I had set up my reading journal, all my Reading to Zero spreads, all that stuff. If you haven't seen my reading bullet journal video, I have this spread with all of the books that I currently own. So I have 80 total books. I am not exactly sure the statistics of how many books I started with in December compared to like me hauling and unhauling, but the number 80 is the exact number of books that I have on my physical TBR that I need to read, no matter what December was. So I counted up all of them. I printed all of the book covers off. There's 80 right now. I did pre-order Colleen Hoover's new book, which is coming in January, so it will be 81, but we're gonna get to reading, it's fine. Did a really, really good, thorough investigation of my bookshelf. And these were the ones that I decided that they've been on there for a while. I might have tried some out and they just aren't for me. So first off, Ready Player 2 by Ernest Cline. I actually did enjoy Ready Player 1. I gave it 4 stars, but I have just heard very negative things about this book, and sci-fi, gaming, fantasy books aren't really my jam to begin with, so I'm actually gonna give this to a friend. But it's an unhaul. I mean, it counts negatively for my numbers. Next up, I actually had both of these books on my December TBR. I did try and listen to All About Us, and I did not like this book. I got like 20% in, and it is a British-based book. I don't like those types just because it's very hard for me to understand. A lot of things like go over my head. Also, this is a book about like time travel, alternate realities, and I think I might have just read too many of those because it just reminded me of every single other book I've ever read about that. So I decided to just DNF it and unhaul it. The 12 Days of Christmas, I didn't even try, but honestly, every year I try and read Christmas books and I never get to them or I never like them. So I think I'm just gonna totally like not care about Christmas books anymore because I don't think I'm that festive person regarding books. I'm going to unhaul The Other Gloria. I believe this was a book that I just like had gotten from a swap and I'm just not interested in it anymore. I'm also going to unhaul Here to Stay by Mark Edwards because I believe I heard it was pretty slow, not interested. I had this book on my TBR for forever, The Perfect Son. I believe I tried to read it one time like a few years ago. I'm unhauling it. I'm not interested anymore. I'm unhauling both Wendy Webb books that I have. I did try reading The Haunting of Bryn Wilder and I just couldn't ever get into it. So I'm just, there, nope. Then I'm unhauling Alex 6. I actually had gotten this book in the summer because I was doing a specific reading vlog. Someone recommended this book to me. I ended up reading like a quarter of it, I believe, and I hated the writing style. This book needs so many edits. Like, even for me, I am not a good like writer or grammatically correct person or anything like that, and this was irritating to me, so I never finished that. I'm unhauling that. Then The 7 Principles of Making Marriage Work. I am going to unhaul this, but I'm actually gonna be giving it to like my siblings because I'm not gonna read it anytime soon. They could benefit more from it and we'll probably just keep it going around the family. I'm gonna unhaul Love People Use Things. This is an arc actually that I got this summer, but I ended up like, I am a minimalist, but I feel like I'm just so comfortable in my minimalism. I don't need to read a book about minimalism, if that makes sense, because like I just do what I do now. Then I'm also unhauling Hunger by Roxane Gay. This is a memoir, but I think it's more poetry, which is the reason why I'm unhauling it, because I read a poetry book this month that it's just poetry goes over my head. I just feel like I wouldn't get a lot out of it. Last but not least, I am unhauling Get Out of Your Head by Jenny Allen. Again, I tried to read this a few different times. This is like a self-help book, but just stopping the spiraling of toxic thoughts. I just don't feel like this is very relevant for me at the moment, and I have tried reading it multiple times and it's just not for me. So that was the stack of books that I'm unhauling. So like I said, I have 80 books left on my TBR, 81 when Colleen Hoover shows up, and I have to read that within this year. So I made my Goodreads goal for 80 and we're gonna do it. We're gonna get to it. Now let's talk about the books that I read in December. So first off, I read Dying for Christmas by Tammy Cohen. I read for Jess's live show over Reading with Jess. She did this, I think like December 16th or something like that. You could go check out the live show. But I ended up not liking this book. I believe I rated it 2 stars, and it's because it started out pretty strong. It's about this girl that gets kidnapped and her kidnapper is really creepily making her open like a gift a day leading up to Christmas. I felt like this could have been more holiday inspired. It didn't really have any other holiday things in it other than that gift giving part, but the second half went downhill so fast. Oh my gosh, I felt like this was one of those books that instead of showing you everything, all it does is tell you everything. So no other like action or exciting things were happening because you weren't living in the moment. You were just having someone tell you what happened. But I just did not like this. Then I read They Never Learned. This actually was my first buddy read over on Patreon, which was so fun. I ended up rating this book 4.5 stars. This is about a female serial killer who is killing these bad men and professors at this college that she works at. She is a professor there, and she targets these men because they are evil. They're like raping people or, you know, just being very awful humans. So it is actually pretty intriguing because it makes you think, you know, is it okay that she's murdering these guys? Did they deserve it? You know what I mean? So I really liked that like conflictedness that I was feeling of like, should I be rooting for the villain? Like, is she a villain? you know? But there were some pretty good twists in here that I didn't see coming, so I definitely think that you should read this. If you haven't yet, a lot of people that I know of have liked it. Okay, next up, I read Saving Noah by Lucinda Berry. Now, this is one of my favorite books of the year, which I haven't filmed my best books yet, but I'm filming it right after this video. You should not pick up this book if you are triggered by lots of things. So this book is about a teenage boy who is an A-roll honor student. He is like, you know, sweetest kid, does all this stuff, very smart. He has been coaching the swim team, which is like 6-year-old little girls, and he admits to his mom that he has been sexually abusing these little girls. When I first picked this up and I read the synopsis, my immediate thoughts were like, oh yeah, of course I wanna read this. Like, I wanna hate this guy Noah, you know? Like, how could he do that? But I just want you to know that I felt very conflicted in this book because of the fact that this book is actually from Noah's perspective and his mom's perspective. So instead of like you're normally reading a book and, you know, you're over here and you're judging that evil character or whoever that is, but you never know really their side of the story, or you don't know their actual thoughts, this almost felt like a nonfiction book where you were actually talking, or you were actually the mother or the son of these characters in this book. It's not all just black and white all the time. You learn, you know, what Noah's been going through, and not saying like let me just preface this. I am not saying that Noah is in the right for doing that. Obviously that is wrong, but this book explains like the difference between, you know, being a sexual predator, being a pedophile, what the difference is between like being in juvenile court compared to adult court, all of this stuff that I learned that I didn't know. And you just kind of like feel for Noah because of the situation that he's in. And I know that that sounds like I am very crazy saying that in this book. But if you've read the book, you know what I'm talking about. And if you read the book, you will know what I'm talking about. This also has one of the best, like, big twist endings I have ever read. I was shocked, and I legit was on a reading sprint with everyone on Patreon, and my mouth dropped open. I was listening to this book and I was building my puzzle, and I could not believe the twist. So this was 5 stars, one of my favorite books of all time. But like I said, it's very disturbing, very gross. I wanted to throw up. Like, I had a lot of mixed feelings while reading this book, but that is one of the reasons why I love it so much, because I love books that make me feel things. Okay, after that, I read Phantom Limb by Lucinda Berry because Lucinda Berry is now one of my favorite authors. This one was not as good as the 2 other books that I've read by her, but it still was pretty solid. I give this a 3.5. This does also have lots of trigger warnings. This is about 2 twins that were abused for a lot of their childhood years. They were neglected and locked up in rooms. They were fed baby formula or starved for years of their life. There's also childhood rape and lots of other things in this book. Self-harm is a big one in this book. But these twins are sent to a mental hospital, and so you're reading a lot about the mental hospital. So if you like stuff like that, definitely pick it up. I will say that this one was just more dark and disturbing, but not very thrilling, because I saw a lot of the twists coming. I don't know if it's because, you know, there's only so many ways to go when there's a book about twins, but that's one of the reasons why I couldn't give it higher than 3.5 stars, because I guessed all of the twists. Like, I already knew everything that was gonna happen, but it is a pretty good read if you like dark books. Okay, then I read In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado. This was the buddy read for Thrill to the Weekend. This is the poetry book that I was talking about. So this is actually a LGBTQ+ book. Also deals with domestic abuse in a relationship and just how that can look. So I understand that this is a very important book and a lot of people liked it, but I ended up giving it 3 stars because I felt like I just missed so much of the deeper meaning, because I don't understand a lot of like lyrical writing or looking deeper into things. So that's kind of my fault as the reader and not the book. I think that the book is amazing for a lot of people. I think that if you love poetry or you love those books that you have to think about, then you would really like this, and you should definitely pick it up. Okay, then I read He Started It by Samantha Downing. I did not like this book. I believe I gave it 2 stars. The actual reading experience of this book wasn't terrible. The first half was pretty good to listen to on audio, but I also was cleaning at work, so like maybe that's why I liked it. Siblings that their grandfather dies, they're supposed to get this like $3 million inheritance, so they go on this road trip that they have to do in order to get this inheritance. The first half of the book, I was really excited like listening to it, and I was intrigued by it because there's all of these things that they can't tell you, and you know, they start a story and they're like, oh well, we can't tell you that because it's a secret, like find out later. So that was intriguing because I was like, okay, like yeah, there's a lot of stuff going down. But the problem is when I got to the second half, they still weren't answering any of the secrets, so I felt like I was just being drug along with a carrot the whole way, you know? That gets pretty boring real quick, so the second half, I was like, okay, come on, let's wrap this up. Like, I wanna find out what's happening. But then the ending, oh my gosh, I can't believe I wasted all my time reading this book. If you are a seasoned thriller reader, do not pick up this book. It was a waste of my time. You are going to be so frustrated at the end because of just how it ends up. Like, it was so stupid in my opinion. So don't like this book, don't recommend it. I read Healing SIBO. This is a book that is all about SIBO, which is what I have. It's called small intestinal bacteria overgrowth. That means that the bacteria that's like in, you know, my gut is actually not where it's supposed to be. It's in my small intestine, and that causes nutritional deficiencies. It causes all my extra weight gain that I can never lose. It causes all the bloating, so that way I always look 6 months pregnant. I had it in the spring, I went on antibiotics and it went away, and then I got it back recently. I just finished my antibiotics for it, and I'm trying to read as many books as I can in order to figure out how to heal it. So this is one of them. I ended up rating this 4 stars because it was actually really easy to read. I was surprised. I thought it was gonna be very scientific. It was laid out really well. There's a list of like all these different things I wanna try, like supplements and other lifestyle factors. I'm actually going to send this over to my sister because she has the same thing. She knows a little bit more about SIBO because she does a lot of research, so I'm interested to hear her thoughts about this book. But if you have this problem, if you have IBS, anything like that, definitely pick it up. Check your library. I think it was a good book. Okay, then I read this graphic novel. It was called The 2-Week Wait. This is an IVF graphic novel. I picked it up at my library. It was a very quick read, very, very cute. I'm giving it 5 stars because the representation, I mean, in general, having a graphic novel about IVF, like, thank you for seeing us, for like just having that out there. I loved it. I thought it was very emotional. I thought it was very real, very honest. I haven't actually gone through IVF yet. I start in February, but from all of the tests that I've already had to do and all of the things I'm getting ready for and all of the people I've talked to, it seems very spot on. So I highly recommend it if you wanted to learn a little bit about IVF, or if you've gone through it yourself and you just want, you know, kind of like something kind of cute to read. I mean, it is still sad, but at least it's not, you know, like a nonfiction IVF book, you know. Okay, the last book that I read was How to Break Up with Your Phone, the 30-Day Plan to Take Back Your Life. I actually like had this on my Kindle. I've been wanting to read it for a while, and it just worked out that I could read it before New Year's because one of my New Year's resolutions is to not be on my phone as much. Sometimes I do a lot of like mindlessly scrolling. This book actually was pretty good. I gave it 4 stars, and it does have a whole 30-day plan. So if you're someone that like needs to kind of gradually get through things, I'm like a, you know, on Mark, Set, Go, okay, I'm dropping everything that I said. So the gradual plan just doesn't work for me because if I say I'm gonna do something, like I wanna do it now. But you'd learn about like why you're addicted to your phone, all that kind of stuff. So that was really interesting. What I really liked about this book is it didn't like demonize you for using your phone. Like for instance, it said like sometimes people need to have that mindlessly scrolling. Like me watching TikTok is not a bad thing, but I agree with what it's saying. Like I want to have certain times that I'm not on my phone. So for instance, a big thing for me is that I charge my phone next to my bed. So at night, I am on my phone for a really long time, not going to sleep. And then as soon as I wake up in the morning, I'm looking at all my notifications and I stay in bed for longer than I need to, looking through my phone again. So instead, a big thing for me is that I'm going to start charging my phone out here. And that way I can read before bed instead of being on my phone. And when I wake up, that should make me want to get out of bed right away. So that way I, can actually get ready and get stuff done. I think I put a time of, even if I wake up early in the morning, like I'm gonna be getting ready or doing my Bible study or whatever, so I don't just go run to my phone right away. I want to, get some other things done and then, okay, spend, an hour of time on my phone or 30 minutes or whatever you have in your day. I have to spend a little bit more time because I'm so much on social media. But if that's something that you've been wanting to try out, you could definitely pick up this book. It's probably at your library, but give it a read and let me know what you think. Okay, I think that's it. That's my full wrap up for December. I hope you all enjoyed it. The books I talked about, I definitely want you to check out these two if you haven't. And also that IVF graphic novel, like those were the 3 books that I really, really loved this month. So if you can get your hands on a copy, I think that you should read them soon. All right, I'm gonna go film my best books for 2021 and I'll see you all very soon in another video. Bye everyone.
I don't wanna stay here, no. Ain't gonna keep it low now. If you wanna go, let's go. Let's wrap it up and hit the road. I just got an awesome vibe, striking the winner post now. Liberty's on my mind. We've taken off, we've left the ground. You gotta understand that we get one chance, one chance.